Ganz herzlich willkommen hier am Stand der ZEIT bei der Frankfurter Buchmesse. Ihnen hier im Publikum und Ihnen zu Hause oder wo immer Sie uns im Stream später auch zuschauen. Ich bin sehr, sehr glücklich hier. Mein Name ist Volker Weidermann, aber ich bin sehr glücklich hier mir die Bühne zu teilen mit dem Booker-Preisträger, mit dem Autor dieses fantastischen Romans Zeitzuflucht, bulgarischen Autor Georgi Gospodinov. Herzlich willkommen. Die Veranstaltung werden auf Englisch, wo ist die Dame, die sich die deutsche Übersetzung wünscht, ist gar nicht da. So the show is going to be in English, maybe some micro-translation, but I'm sure we will get it done. How's life after the Booker Prize, Georgi, that you won a year ago?
Thank you. Is there a life after Booker Prize for writers? The main problem after Booker Prize is that I should find my shelter for writing, to hide somewhere. But it's a good period. After May, I received many invitations. I like to meet with the people, to talk with them, so it's good. And of course, I know that in one moment I should stop and just to hide myself somewhere to write.
Are you the first Bulgarian writer to receive the Booker Prize?
Yeah, I'm the first one, and this is another good news. I mean, when I came back to Bulgaria after London, there was a huge queue for autographs, and people were so, what to say, they had really pure joy. They were, in a way, very proud, and also they stayed 5 hours on this queue, waiting and talking with me, and as one man told me, we just needed to have something light. So this is also important, I think, also for the Balkan writers, because on the Balkan literatures, Romania, Serbia, Croatia, we also don't have Booker Prize. So it was good.
Great. So let's talk about Zeitzuflucht. And all of you who haven't read this fabulous novel yet, I can only recommend you. It's really, really what I would call Weltliteratur. The power, well, there are many things that are so extremely powerful about this book. Of course, the language and the story, but yeah, the incredible thing that it's powerful regarding the past, but it's also very powerful regarding the future. And something happened with the book after it has been published, something bad, so bad that many readers and many of your friends said, well, how did you know this before? So in the center, well, you are the best one to talk, to tell us what the book is about, but in the center of the book is a special clinic for people who are ill of dementia. And the idea of this clinic from this doctor that he invented with the interesting name Gostin is that, as we all know, when we start to lose our memories, the last thing we remember is the minutes of our childhood. So this clinic is kind of separated in different compartments of decades that you can choose. And well, it happens after some time that not only the ill ones go to this clinic, but there is some kind of secret movement, magnetism, something like this, that also the healthy ones want to be part of this story. So, Georgi, how did you come to this strange and interesting idea in the center of your book?
Actually, I had this idea maybe 15 years ago. And, neuroscientists found that when we have some music, some smells from the last period, we easily unlock memory in the people who lose their memories, who are suffering from Alzheimer, from dementia, and so on. So it came to my mind that maybe it would be a good experiment if we made the whole clinic for the past, where every floor will be dedicated to different decades, 1960s, 1970s, 1980s, and we will have the music of this period, the smell of this period, wallpapers of this period, if you want, everything. And it's good for these people because they will have synchronization between their inner memory, inner time, with the external time around then. And I had this idea and I forgot it. And 15 years later, I think in 2016, I remember clearly the year when some things happened, some political things, Brexit happens, Trump happens, and the past became important again, important again. So then I realized that this idea for the coming back to the 1960s, 70s, 80s could be a bit dangerous. There is a dark side of the past, and we should know about this. And this is in the second part of the book. Maybe it's not good to give spoilers, but this idea, these clinics for the past, growing up, and they became, we had the cities of the past, we had the countries of the past. People started to vote, to make referendums for the happiest decade of 20th century. And the things are connected, as you said, with the future. But when we experience this deficit of future, and when we have this kind of presence, it's normally to look for Zuflucht into the past. So this is but the main idea of the novel, but I wanted to show how the past could be dangerous. The past is, I like very much this British UK cover of the book with the rooms in different paths. Because, you know, feeling of nostalgia is a very human feeling. It's a very normal feeling. I think that every day, all of us, we are traveling to the past for a minute, 5 minutes or an hour.
And a special illness for authors as well, I would say, huh?
Yeah. It is good. No, it's good to stay in the rooms of the past and to keep the door slightly open. Never lock the door when you are inside of the past. So it's good to stay a bit there and to leave the past and to live now. The problem is when someone decides to bring the whole society into the past.
What happened to our times and what happened to the idea of future, that the past is so massive, such a massive, obviously positive idea. But I mean, you mentioned already, I mean, the interesting center of this book is it's a personal story. I mean, there are really ill people who go to the clinic, but of course it's a big story of the century. It's the big story, or it's a political story, and this kind of nostalgia, you call it, chronostalgia? How is it called?
This is the idea that, you know, that nostalgia was a diagnosis invented in 17th century by a Swiss doctor. It's connected with this doctor found it that when Swiss guards are abroad, when they are far away from their country, they had some symptoms, like they became pale, they had heart attacks, especially when they listened the bells of the cows. So then they feel this nostalgia, this feeling, this pain to their country, to their homeland. And this doctor invented the diagnosed nostalgia. So from the very beginning, nostalgia was a kind of illness. Now what we have, it's a nostos, dom, home, and algus, pain to the home. What we are facing now, it's a kind of chronostalgia. I mean, we had a nostalgia to the different times in the past. And yeah, we could see how the past just flooded to us. Now 80s, I think that after 5 years, 90s will be the decade that we will fall in love for this forever. And this is maybe this is a normal situation.
But why don't we fall in love with the future anymore?
Well, you know, before we had much more future than now. I remember these times when we had much more future, when we dreamed. Every one of my classmates wanted to live in the future, to be cosmonaut, astronaut, to live in the Mars or Jupiter or I don't know where. I didn't have this dream. I don't like to live somewhere else. But now, if you ask the people, if you ask the children, you could make this experiment. Ask your children, how do you imagine your future? What do you want to become? I have experience with my daughter, which is 16 now. And a few days ago, we talked about where she would like to study, what she would like to study. And she told me, okay, we can talk about this, but if the world exists. And it was like this, saying like this. But I know that our kids, they know in a way, they even jealous to us that we had a future before, that we used to live 50 years, let's say. But for them, it's not too sure. They know this. We should know that they know this. And yeah, that's one of the problems. What happened with the future? The future is not important like itself. Nobody will live in the future. Nobody. But it's important the feeling for the future. Yeah. To have this feeling
a light
that
idea
the future
of something
exists.
To come.
Yeah, that they will come. Yeah, and I think we lost this. We lost this in a way. It's a situation like the future cancelled. If you imagine a kind of table on the airports, that you have all these cities, planes, and one is on time, other one was postponed, and many of them are cancelled. So we are living in this situation that future is cancelled or postponed. I hope it's just postponed, but who knows?
And of course, I mean, I think I'm not spoiling too much when I say that it's pretty precise described in this novel what the political threats are if the world or only Europe gets this massive idea of past, that of every country chooses its own decade, paradise decade or decade of greatness. And of course, there is Russia is kind of in the center of this book, and the dream decade of Russia that we all know might be the dream decade of Putin, the 40s or the beginning of the 40s.
Yeah, I think that unfortunately, 40s and 50s would be the preferable decade for Russia now, for Putin now. But anyway, they are not in the book. I didn't write about this.
But it was, I mean, it's obviously not your fault, and it's really not kind of luck in any way. But the time when it was published in Germany, I don't know exactly when it was, but it was pretty much around February 22.
Yeah.
So there must, I mean, for us, the readers in Germany, was some kind of a shock to have this kind of, precise future description there. Was it a shock for you as well?
Yeah, the book was published in Germany exactly in February 22. Yes, you know, the last scene of this book, because it's a book also how we reenact the past. The last scene of this book is about the repetition of the first day of the Second World War. So everything happened on the September 1st, 2029. And the huge army is on the border of the another country, and the army just waiting, and they in this way they want to say celebrate the 1st of September 1939. At once the tanks, one of the bullets was not fake but the real one, so everything starts again. The tanks enter into the country, and the Third World War begin like a repetition, like a reenactment of the Second World War. So when this happens on 24th of February, it was really, especially shocking for me.
Have you ever taken part, or have you witnessed this kind of reenactments that actually exist? I mean, in reality, some kind of historical reenactments? Like I have been, for example, I have been in Normandy when I see all the American, the grandchildren of the invasion grandparents are doing it again and again and again. They invade Normandy every day again, and it's big fun, of course. I mean, they are heroes without the danger. Have you been part of?
No, I haven't been part, but in Bulgaria we have this very important reenactment of our unsuccessful revolt against the Ottoman Empire in the late 19th century. And it's a bit kitschy to watch everything, to watch how we kill some Ottomans, some Turks, and how, because we have this very important scene, we wrote a bloody letter. We have this bloody letter. Someone from Bulgarian revolutionaries just put the, how do you call it this, pero? Just put the stick into the wound of the killed soldier and wrote with his blood, he wrote a letter, a manifesto, or something like this. It's a terrible thing. It's kitschy and terrible at the same time. But we have this every time. And the funny thing is that we celebrate one unsuccessful revolt. It's interesting. And in the novel, I like to think about this, how nations they are, what to say, they are invented around, they stay together around the things that never happened, around the unsuccessful things, around the traumatic things. Happiness is not a good stick for the nation, and happiness is a better stick, which is terrible also.
You mentioned the special smells or special sounds for people to remember happy times of their childhood, for example. Are there, what is your happy sound or your happy smell of your childhood? And do you have any idea of, could you use this for writing? Like a special sound or a special smell to make it easier?
Like Schiller, to keep rotten apples in my drawer. No, but of course, I collect some smells and some sounds. I have many lists in the book, but also in my short stories. I have a golden collection of the sounds you should hear before you get deaf. And some of them are like the sound of the writing with the pencil on the very hard paper. Or some small insignificant sounds are very important. The sounds of the rain in the, what to say, autumn forest, and so on and so on. Smells actually are really, they're great unlockers of the memory, as I said. And some of the smells, like for me, the smell of the melted asphalt, you understand asphalt? It's a part of my childhood. Okay. It's a part of very hot summers of my childhood. If I have this smell now, I will be transported directly to my childhood. This is important. The insignificant smells and things are very important, much more than we think.
What I think is maybe one of many, many secrets why this book is so special, powerful, is maybe I read at the very, very last page when you say your thank you. And there is that you describe that you obviously yourself are a man who loves the past or who loves to live in the past. And this, I mean, the whole book, as I read it, is about nothing else or in center but the dangers of falling in love with the past so much. Was that special? This fact, was it special? Did it make writing special difficult, or in the opposite? Did it make very, very easy?
Yeah, it was difficult for me. It was writing against myself in a way, because I love past, and I will continue to love past. But also, I wrote this book to save my feeling to the past, to save the past as a past, This is very important, to keep the past in the past. And to save the past like a personal feeling, not like a propaganda, because what happens now is to using of the past as a propaganda.
A single personal story, not a national story.
Yes, yes. How to keep our single stories, and because the collective past is always dangerous. The collective stories could be dangerous.
And listening to ourselves, you could get the impression that this book is all over very, very sad, dangerous, and bad. It is not. It is very, very many parts. It is really funny. It's really nice. And there are many hopeful moments, but there's one in the center that I like very, very much. We've been talking about it for a second, and to give you, who have maybe not read the book Zeitzuflucht yet, but definitely should, I can give you an impression of the sound of the translation that Alexander Sitzmann did do, and it's just half a minute or so, and this is some kind of, well, the utopia is a too big word, I would say. Utopias are always tend to turn around to be a dystopia, but it's an idea of luck of the future that the main character has, and I just read these 10 lines. Es spielt in Pisa, auf einer Plaza in Pisa, und er schaut mit seinen Freunden, Kindern beim Spielen zu. Gelassenheit zu spüren im Stillwerden der Gruppe, gefolgt von einer Welle des Lachens, nicht mehr und auch nicht weniger von der Welt zu erwarten, als dass sie diesen Rhythmus von Stille und Lachen beibehält. In den unausweichlichen Nächten kommender Sommer und des Alters. Von so einem Europa, scheint mir, träumten Gaustin und ich mit kleinen gesprächigen Plätzen, seine Morgen österreichisch-ungarisch, seine Nächte italienisch, die Sehnsucht nach ihm und seine Anziehungskraft bulgarisch. How's your German, by the way? How is your German? Do you know some German, or have you been in contact with a translator while he was doing this? And did he have like questions of rhythm as well? Or?
Aber natürlich, ich verstehe. Oh, no, I know only a few words. Genau, yeah. And actually, when I was in Bulgaria, when I was a student, we were obliged to have a foreign language, and the only foreign language we had was German. It was because of GDR.
Oh, okay.
No. But I was really bad at the school with German.
Never too late. Oh, excellent. But not in public. What's your favorite decade? Your favorite decade in the past?
Okay. I have, of course, 1968 is my favorite year.
Oh, okay.
I was born in the very beginning of the 1968, and I pretend that I remember the whole year and everything that happened in 1968, this important year. But also, in the novel, this question exists, and I like the answer of one of the characters of the novel. She said, I would like to be 12 in each of decades. And I think this is a good answer.
Mm-hmm. What I did, many things I do not know about Bulgaria, obviously, like many of us talking about Frankfurt. Very, very few, I think, we know about Bulgaria. But one thing is I especially didn't know was the threat in the 60s, the concrete threat of Bulgaria becoming part of the Soviet Union. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about this? This is an historic fact. Actually, I never heard of it before.
I expected that you will not know this fact. It's very shameful for us. Yeah, there was this, our general secretary in this period, and I think in 1963, suggested to Brezhnev, to the general secretary of Soviet Union in this time, Bulgaria to be something like 16th republic of the Soviet Union. And thankful, Brezhnev refused. I thought that they didn't want to have one more problem in this in this puzzle in the to be 16 Republic. So I like this, but also.
Is this present in Bulgarian memory?
No, it's not. But another things are important, and I like to write about them and to talk about them. One of my favorite topics is connected with the things that never happened, and how important are they for the personal story, but also for the collective story of the society. And we are full with the unhappened things in Bulgaria, and especially in the 60s. I wrote an essay about the unhappened 1968 in Bulgaria. You know, in 1968, we had Prague, we had Paris, we had all these revolts, this rising up of the young people, but Bulgaria was so quiet. And now when 1989 happened in Bulgaria, I was 21, and for my generation, it was like a new try to have again 1968, to happen late in 1968. And I don't know, I think we failed. We didn't manage to have this proper 1968 in 1989. But anyway, this unhappened year is very important for the history of societies.
Your book is a novel, and it's not the job of a novel to have answers for problems that we do have. But I think there's an idea of an answer, or a proposal of an answer. Telling stories, telling personal stories, single stories, against the idea of a national story, against the idea of ideological story. And I heard that you have, well, so of course this is what great literature is about, but you also have some kind of a project. You told me when last time we met in Bulgaria, some kind of oral history project, so people to speak out their stories. Can you tell us a little bit an idea of this, what the story is?
It was a small project collecting personal stories of the people for the past, because what happened after 1989, people never started to tell stories about their experience from the time of communism. It's a specific culture of silence, I called it, in Bulgarian society. It's a mixture between patriarchy and fear of telling personal stories, the fear which came from the communist time, because it could be dangerous. It's always dangerous to tell personal stories in totalitarian systems. And that's why we wanted, we pushed the people to tell their personal stories. We asked them, we were in the small cities and towns to talk with people, and it's not easy to start talking your personal stories. It's not easy at all, because when you kept silence for decades, you suppressed your memory and your way of storytelling. And I realized what was more important, even not storytelling, but story hearing. They didn't believe, these old people or people with experience from the communist time, they didn't believe, first, that their stories are important, and second, that there is someone who wants to hear their stories. So when we spent 1-2 hours, then they started to tell their stories in a really moving way. So we made this project. We collected 500 stories. I published a book with 171 personal stories from the time of socialism. And I believe in this, that our personal stories, actually, they are in a way also our weapons against the propaganda, because propaganda, what to say, the propaganda wants to work with our personal stories, with our personal fears.
Or tells us we have the big story, be part of it. Just our big story is your little story. Just be part of it. If you haven't told your single story before, if you don't know you have a story, you're easy to follow these guys, maybe.
So this is I really believe in the personal stories, and this project was a very successful project, actually.
Great. And one last question, Georgi Gospodinov. You told me that when your book has been published, and especially after the war in Russia started, many, even of your friends, said, "Oh, what have you done? You have done such a powerful fiction that the reality followed your book." Well, exaggerating, but a little bit. Are you a bit afraid of your next book? What you might make of?
Yeah, as my daughter told me, please never write books like this anymore. And you know, I like this famous sentence by Orwell, when he talked after 1984 about his book 1984. He said, "I didn't want to write a manual, a guide. I just wanted to warn." So I hope that my next book, but I always think that my next book will be a simple book, joyful book, full of irony, with very light things, and it happens like this. We will see.
Yes, and as long as it is so far, we all read Zeit Zuflucht. Thank you very, very much indeed for the book and the time. Georgi Gospodinov. Vielen Dank Ihnen fürs Zuhören und Ihnen zu Hause fürs Zuschauen. Danke.